tomorrow," Jennifer said with a wave, and disappeared down the hall. Clarice came into the lab, now empty but for Quinn, and perched on the lab stool beside Quinn's. "I have a million things to do. 2 million. Quinn gave her a half-sympathetic, half-disbelieving look. "Then what are you doing here?" "Procrastinating. The moment I walk out the door, I'll be moving 100 miles an hour until I go to bed. If I ever get there tonight." Quinn grabbed Clarice's hand. "I'm happy for you." "Thanks." Clarice squeezed hers back. "I'm so glad you're going out with us tomorrow night, Quinn." "Me too," Quinn replied weakly, hating that she wouldn't be going. It had been so long since she'd enjoyed a night out, and this one promised to be a lot of fun. And she hated to disappoint Clarice. But she didn't dare go. Not to Georgetown. "I wouldn't miss it." Clarice slipped her hand from Quinn's and hopped off the lab stool. "Enough procrastinating. I've got to get going." "Get some sleep tonight." Clarice rolled her eyes. "I'll sleep on the honeymoon." Larry might have other ideas. With a laugh, Clarice disappeared around the corner. Quinn turned back to her desk, folded the lab report, and stuck it in her purse, then pulled off her lab coat and glanced down at her clothes, her stomach nodding with tension. On the surface, she was dressed normally for the lab. Jeans, purple, t-shirt, red, and tennis shoes, bright blue. The problem was, when she'd dressed this morning, the jeans had been blue, the tee yellow, the shoes white. The shimmer had struck on her way to work this morning, as it did almost every day now. Why? Why did these things keep happening to her, and no one else? Heading out of the building, she began the long trek across the NIH campus to her car, not looking forward to the long slog through D.C. traffic to get home. Traveling to and from work on the metro had been so much easier. But public transportation of any kind was out of the question now. What if they passed through a shimmer? How in the hell would she explain such a color transformation to her fellow passengers? By the time she reached her car, a 10-year-old Ford Taurus, she was sweating in the late August heat. Opening the car door, she stared at the pink interior, which was supposed to be slate gray, the knot in her stomach growing. With a resigned huff, she slid into the hot car and headed back into Washington, D.C., and home. Her life had always been a little odd. Now it was starting to come unhinged. Strange things had happened as far back as she could remember, though rarely. Only twice had they been scary strange rather than silly strange, like the color changes. And nothing had happened at all after that second bad incident in high school. Not until a couple of years ago, when the shimmers had begun playing with her. A couple of weeks ago, the visions started. Yes, her life was becoming seriously unhinged. As she neared the Naval Observatory on Massachusetts Ave, she saw one of the shimmers up ahead, like a faint sheen in the sunlight, almost like the rainbow that sometimes appeared in water mist. They were always in the same spots, never moving, never wavering, nearly invisible walls in various parts of D.C. that she'd always been able to see, always been able to drive or walk through without incident. Until recently. Now she avoided them like the plague, when she could. But there wasn't a single route to work that didn't pass through one. Unfortunately, one cut right through the heart of Georgetown, which was why she couldn't possibly meet Clarice, Jennifer, and the others tomorrow. How drunk would they have to be to not notice her clothes changing color right before their eyes? Too drunk. It was far too great a risk. As she drove through the shimmer, the hair rose on her arms, as it always did, her car interior returning to gray, and her clothes and shoes returning to normal. In some ways, she'd gotten used to the strangeness. But in a bigger way, she was scared, because the changes were escalating in frequency, and she had a